Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the In the 11 podcast. I am your host, Brendan Griffiths, and this is the show where we bring on those from the world of football to show you what it takes to be in the 11 at the highest possible level. We have now done this podcast for 75 episodes. It's crazy to really think about the evolution of the show over 75 episodes. And how much I've learned and how much we've been able to share with all of you. This started as just a little idea that I had in my head about documenting my journey, and it started in in my bedroom with me knowing absolutely nothing about podcasting or creating content or telling stories or anything at all. And as I'm sure I mentioned before, I go back and if I ever hear that first episode, it makes me wince a little bit because it's I was not as smooth and eloquent as I am now. And even now, it's rough, as I'm sure some of you have heard me speak on this episode. I'm no poet or master of words, but I mean, I was just thinking about this before, jumping on here. I've been able to speak now to people from all different walks of life, all different career journeys in this game. We've spoken to players, we've spoken to coaches, we've spoken to directors of clubs and programs, and just people that have their hands immersed in the game of football from every corner of the world. I've gotten to speak to players who have played for their national team, who have played in the MLS, who have played in the top flight, who have played in front of thousands and tens of thousands of screaming fans from every corner of the globe, from New Zealand and Australia up to Asia, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, all the way across to Europe and, Germany, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Portugal, Spain. We're, like I mentioned, the MLS, obviously USA. We've had, every league, USL, NISA, represented on the show, and from Canada, South America, Brazil. I mean, the list just goes on, and it's what's been amazing about doing this is I've been able to learn so much and just speak to a lot of cool people, hear a lot of cool stories and hear people's adventures and their journeys. And it's one of the beautiful things about what I get to do with this and the game of football in general. And I look forward to continuing to do that for you. If this is the first episode that you have ever come across, I would hope that intro would encourage you to go and check out an episode or two previous. Maybe you could find something that you might be interested in. I think we've got a little bit there for everybody who's interested in the game and kind of interested in in somebody who's a grinder and somebody who's trying to make a career for themselves, oftentimes without the big recognition or the big sort of pedigree in the game. I think a lot of what we do, which has been cool, is we kind of represent the underdog player here on this platform and try and shed a little bit of light onto them, because I think their stories are just as if not more valuable than those big stars that you hear about constantly, because they're doing it, just simply because they love the game so much or whatever their reasons might be, but it's sometimes not quite as glamorous for them. So it's fascinating to hear some of the things that they go through. And if you go and check out a previous episode, you will, I'm sure, resonate with that as well. If you have been here from episode 1 or episode 10, or you just hopped on a couple episodes ago, I hope that you have liked what you've heard. I hope that you have heard a story that was interesting or valuable or made you laugh or made you smile, made you think, made you do something. Or if you're a player or wanting to be a coach, or I hope that I have provided you with a little bit of insight, a tidbit here and there that can maybe help you along your career path, along your journey. That's what's been amazing to me, is not only interacting with those of you who actually have been on the podcast and I've gotten to speak to, and those who have interacted via the social media dedicated to those specific people that we've had on, right? Those of you who have come on and listened because a friend or a former teammate or family member has been on the show, but also just a lot of you who have come across the podcast and reached out to me. And I've had so many conversations off air as well that have been really enlightening to me. And it's been a humbling experience to have people, come to me and ask me for advice about how to have a career in football. And I'm by no means an expert, and I don't tout myself as such. And, I'm just somebody who I thought was a story that would be worth sharing and could provide some value to other people. And if I can do that in some way, shape, or form, then I want to do that for all of you. So I welcome those conversations for those of you who love football and want to do something with it. If I can help in any way, then by all means. And those conversations have been really cool to have. As you noticed by the title of the episode, now we've done this 75 times. 75 times I've introduced and welcomed you into the 11, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a hell of a lot. For those of you who have been along the ride from the beginning, you understand the highs and the lows and the ups and downs and sort of the journey that I've been through. And I've loved this podcast. I've fallen out of love with this podcast. I've had a relationship with the game that's been evolving and all that stuff. And in doing so, I've also spoken to so many people that kind of, as selfish as it may sound, this podcast has taught me a lot about myself, about what I want to do, about how I want to continue with the game in my life. And so as much as I say there in the beginning, I hope that you've learned something. A lot of this it's for me, guys. I do this for me and me only. And I've learned a ton of things. So I wanted to do an episode here with 75 where I talked about 7 of the biggest things that I've learned by doing this by doing this podcast up to this point. And so, I could, there's a laundry list of things that I've learned. I wanted to boil it down to 7 to kind of, what are the things that I continue to hear time and time again when I speak to players on the show and even off the show, and also tying that into my own journey and what I've documented on here. So without further ado, let's kick it off. So number 1 of the 7, we'll say it's the 7.5 things, and I'll explain that the half as we kick on along here. The first thing that I've learned, and you hear me say it a lot of times on episodes, and you hear a lot of players say this as well, as they talk about the roller coaster that is a football career. They say that it is an emotional journey with highs and lows. It is a unique experience. It is a unique career in which you can be on the top of the world. You can be signing a contract. You can be scoring goals, and then the next minute you have an injury, or you get released, or what have you. The visa doesn't come through, your contract doesn't come through, a trial fails. Like that, riding that wave of emotion is something that I try and talk to a lot of players about, and you try and prepare them for that, but it's never really something you can prepare for until you live it. And there's going to be times in your career where you're going to feel like you're going to have a lot more highs than lows. There are going to be times in your career where you're going to feel like, when is there going to be another high? And I think what a lot of footballers will tell you is that that's kind of the chase for us, or for them, is those highs feel so amazing. So part of you kind of wants to, let me wait and see if I turn this corner, if I can catch another one of those highs. And because they're euphoric, man. I think for every time you go and score a goal in front of a packed crowd, or you win a game, or you're a promotion or something like that, you sign a contract, it makes you forget about all those lows for just a moment. And it's an amazing feeling. But the advice that I've kind of learned from people that I've spoken to is that, to the best of your ability, kind of find an even keel with that. Find a middle ground in which you experience those highs for what they are, and you celebrate yourself. But it's very difficult to ride those highs and lows. And, you pick up an injury and then I'm down, my career's over. But then you have a success and, okay, I'm on top of the world, right? I'm the best player in the world. If you can find more of a middle ground, you're still entitled to feel all the feelings, right? But if you can find a way in which to mitigate just a little bit, it will help not be such a tumultuous ride as you go along in here. So that's number one. The second thing that I have learned doing 75 episodes of this show is that the game is, I think, so much more about, at the pro level, about your mentality than it really is about what you can do on the field. And I've mentioned this before, and obviously the caveat I always present is, I'm not saying that you can be a player that doesn't have talent and still make it to the professional level. It doesn't work like that. But what I am saying, and a common theme that I hear, is every one of us knows countless players who had so much talent and for whatever reason fizzled out of the game, whether they didn't get along with a coach or didn't get along with teammates. They had a poor attitude, and when they were faced with adversity, or they had a couple of hiccups, maybe a couple of injuries, and then they just thought, okay, I'm done. That mentality piece of it, that can manifests itself in a number of different ways, but those of the players who have gone on to have those careers that have had success and they've signed multiple contracts and they've played for multiple years, they have a resiliency about them. They have a mentality that is, it's a growth mindset. They want to continue to get better. They want to push themselves. They're not afraid of adversity. They're not afraid of failure. And it's what's allowed them to, keep playing the game at a high level. And those who have let things out of their control kind of take hold of them have then gone on to have their career sort of fizzled out. The other piece of that is, having a mentality where you are willing to dedicate yourself a bit to the game and focus more than the average person on football. Can you maybe be more strict with your diet? Can you take time away from the parties and the drugs and the booze and all that stuff to focus on your ability to play the game, on your training, on your body, on all those things? Like, though the players, as I mentioned, who have had the success and gone on to do great things, they've all had that mentality where they're willing to dedicate the time and the energy to their craft. So mentality more than really what you can do on the field, because we all know players who maybe they aren't the best players. To be quite transparent, I'm not the best player in the world in terms of my technical ability or anything like that, but I'm a grafter and I'll work for 90 minutes and I'll keep showing up and I'll keep showing up, and it's done me thus far. So number 3, and this kind of ties in with the second one that I just mentioned there, is one of the things I've learned is you can't be afraid of the word no. You're going to hear the word no a lot. And that's just an honest truth. Every single player, and I mean this, every single player that has come on the show, even every coach that has come on the show, at some point in their career has gone for something, whether it be a trial, a new team, whatever, and they've been told no. No, you're not going to play here. No, you're not going to play that position. Like, no, we don't want you. Whatever it is, every single player. I promise you. So, you are just, it's something that you're going to have to get used to hearing. And it sort of comes down to, are you going to believe the no's or not? So when you go on a trial and you hear no, you can't play here. And some coaches have even been more harsh about it. You can't play at this level. You'll never play here or play at this ability. And there's players who hear that and they believe it and they think, okay, yep, I'm done. But if every single player that's been told no had quit right then and there, we would have so much fewer professionals than we have now. And all the professionals that I've had on the show wouldn't have been on the show because they never would have developed into the professional soccer players, the professional footballers that they are, because they would have let one no define them. So you're going to go on trials. You are going to try out for teams, and you're going to be cut from teams and asked not to return or not offered a contract. You're going to be told no in your career, and that's okay. It's okay to feel upset about it as well. It's okay to be frustrated and to be pissed off, and if a coach isn't playing you, that's all right. It's all right to feel those feelings, but feel them and then move on, right? That person or that person's opinion does not dictate who you are as a player. You know who you are as a player, and you then bring that into the next opportunity with a clean slate. You take the things that you did well, that you learned, right? Things that you can improve on from one opportunity, you take it into the next one, boom, and you might hear no again. Okay, you take it to the next one. You might hear no again, right? I look back to the conversations that I had. You know, if I even tie examples to some of these, you know, you look at a player like Chase Boone, who I bring up a lot on here, right? Number one, when I said a pro football career is a roller coaster. He went to Denmark and had a massive knee injury, had to have surgery, was out for 11 months, and had to basically reteach himself how to walk. Now went on to play for San Diego Loyal in the USL Championship, played for Landon Donovan, is now scoring goals and is one of the best players at Monterey Bay FC. Jacob Bushway, when he was coming up out of college, thought he was going to get an opportunity to get drafted, was sitting on his couch, if I remember, in the basement of his girlfriend's house or something along those lines, waiting for a call that never came, and was training without the possibility of anything that was coming down the pipeline. I mean, all these players. As I just scroll through here, Sergio Anton was out of the game for 6 months, was told no, and kind of fell out of love with the sport, and now is doing great things out in Romania. Aramis Kazin, I mean, the perfect example that I bring up all the time, had freaking cancer, had to come back from that. And JC Mack, you know, we talk about he was homeless for a few days in France and was constantly being let go from teams, and you know, it exemplifies those highs and those lows, and it also shows you as well that their mentality had to outweigh what they could do on the field, because they've been professionals. They've played at a professional level. But when they were told no, they had the opportunity to either rise to the occasion, not believe what they had been told, and keep going and keep pushing. And now, you know, look at some of the things that they've done. I mean, Jacob is the captain, has been the captain in multiple clubs that he's been in Finland, and, you know, is playing at the highest level over there. I mean, Kari Stevenson, who went on to play for the Jamaican national team, played Division III college soccer. I mean, the amount of times that these players have heard no, but their mentality prevailed, allowed them to have the careers that they've gone on to. So number 3, don't be afraid of the word no. Let's take a quick break here to talk about support for the In the 11 podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code 11 at manscaped.com. Now, if my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls. So listen, gentlemen, here's the deal. The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and it is a game changer, right? I know we got a lot of ballers that are listening to this show right now. We got a lot of coaches that are listening to this show right now. And I'm sure you're saying in your training sessions, I'm sure you're saying in the games, we got to take care of the ball. Why would you not be applying that to your below-the-waist grooming as well? You got to take care of your balls as well. Luckily, the Performance Package 4.0 and Manscaped is here to help you. So first off, we've got the Lawnmower 4.0. It is the future of men's below-the-belt grooming. It's got advanced skin-safe technology. It is waterproof. It has a 400K LED spotlight to get you that more precise shave. Say goodbye to the mess all over your bathroom floor. You can bring it in the shower with you. Like I said, it's waterproof, got the light, everything, no more mess, easy, done, right? Same thing goes for your weed whacker, the ear and nose hair trimmer. You've got that proprietary skin-safe technology, which is going to help reduce nicks, snags, and tugs. It is also waterproof as well. Now, when it comes to your men's hygiene routine, when it comes to your ball routine, yeah, we got to talk about it, guys, because you got a routine for everything else, right? You've got a pregame routine, you got a postgame routine, you've got a recovery routine, but some of you might not have a routine for your balls, and you got to change that. So you got to get the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. You don't want to be that one, right, that comes in after the match and you've played 90 minutes, maybe you played well, maybe you bagged a goal, right? And it's just an absolute jungle down there and you're trying to clean and it's just, it stinks and no. Gone are those days, right? And who knows? You got a special someone, came out to see you play, right? Maybe you bagged a goal, maybe you got a clean sheet, maybe it was your debut, right? You want to be ready because I don't know what's going to go down after that game. That's up to you. Now, with all of that good stuff that I've just mentioned to you there, Manscaped has also hooked you up because in the Performance 4.0 package, they have also thrown in some extra goodies for you. They've thrown in the Manscaped boxer briefs, and they've thrown in a Manscaped little travel tote bag for you to carry around all of your Manscaped products. So you're on the road, you've got an away day, you're on the bus, you've got something, and you're equipped to bring all of your products with you on the road. Time to take care of yourself. Your balls are going to thank you. You got to go to manscaped.com. You'll get 20% off and free shipping if you use our code here at In the 11 Podcast. Use code 11, ELEVEN, to get 20% off and free shipping. So that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code 11. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. 4 is the power of networking. Caesar, a couple episodes ago, said it the best probably when he said that your network is your net worth. As I'm sure a lot of you have heard before, the saying of it's not really about what you know, it's about who you know. And that couldn't be more true in the game of football. The amount of players who I've spoken to who have said, oh, a teammate made a call for me and then I was able to get a trial, or I knew the coach because I had played for him before, or my college coach knew him, or I knew the agent, or a family friend. Like, those conversations about how players get opportunities happen all the time. So, and the one thing that I will tie into that as well is that, yes, the game is political. Like, let's not beat around the bush with it anymore. But it can't be an excuse for you. You know, if you really want this, if you really want to be a pro, you do have connections. Or if you don't, there's a way that you can make connections. So the excuse of, I wasn't able to get onto that team because it's too political. Man, just about everything in life is political. You want a job, it's political how you're going to get it. You want to be on this team, there's politics and how you're going to get it. You know, can you win over people? Can you have people vouch for you? Do you have a network that can support you in what you want to do? So the game is political. You got to get over it. Use your network to the best of your ability. It's going to be the key to unlocking doors for you. Again, it ties into what you can do on the field. You might be an amazing player, but if you don't have people in places that you need them to be, it's going to be tough to climb that ladder. Not impossible, but it's going to be tough. So we're 1 through 4 so far. Number five, the fifth thing that I've learned in doing 75 episodes of the In the 11 podcast. You have to be the person that cares the most about your career. And so what I mean by that is a lot of times, you know, there's been moments where players have told me, I was waiting for this agent to do this for me and he didn't come through, or my coach was supposed to call and he didn't come through. And the reality is, you know, those players at the highest level, they're the ones who have the luxury of saying, I let my team focus on everything off the field because they have the luxury of hiring a full, physio team to work on their body in the off season or away from the pitch to work on their recovery, to work on their gym work, to work on they might have a private coach, a supplemental coach. They have those things. They have an agent or they have a management team that works on their contract negotiations, their endorsement deals, all those things. They probably have that at their disposal. So all they have to do is day in and day out focus on going to training and performing their best because everything else in their life is taken care of for them. You, on the other hand, when you're a player who's coming up through the ranks and you're trying to make a name for yourself, nobody knows who you are, and you don't have a big budget to go and splash with and into a team like that, you have to be the one that's all of those things. You have to be your trainer, your own coach, your own physio, your own agent, right? Because if you're waiting on just an agent to make your career happen for you, if it doesn't happen, there's no real skin off the agent's back, right? They'll just move on to the next player. But this is your life. This is your dream. This is what you wanted. So don't put your dream in the hands of somebody else, right? Don't put what you've wanted your whole life is to be a professional footballer. And don't just say, okay, here, you go and make this happen for me. You have to be in charge of that 100% and be in the driver's seat. And you can still use agents and connections and networks and have them working for you. But at the same time, you need to be doing everything within your own power to make your career happen for you. So don't let your career go to the wayside simply because you've put it in the hands of somebody else. Nobody's going to care as much as you about what's best for you, right? It's you, and people will support you, yes, but it's you and you at the end of the day. You have to be your biggest fan, your biggest supporter, because your opinion is the one that matters. I mentioned this when we talked about why you have to not be afraid of the word no. In this journey, you're going to have people on the side of football who are going to tell you, nope, you can't play here, you're not good enough, etc. You're going to have people who are questioning what you're doing. Oh, why are you still trying to be a professional footballer? Do you know how hard it is to be a professional footballer? Do you know how hard it is to be a professional footballer at your age? Do you really think that you're going to be able to do it? Everyone has opinions, right? So your opinion is the only one that matters. And it matters even more than what your closest family, your closest friends say. Because if this is what you want, if this is your dream, you don't want to wake up one day and regret not giving it everything that you had, if it's truly what you want. So your opinion is the one that matters. If you want to be a professional footballer, chase that shit. Who cares? Who cares how many people turn you away? Who cares what people think about what you're doing? If you can support yourself, if you can make it happen, if you're happy, if you're still enjoying the journey, then by all means, let that opinion be the driving force for what you do going forward. Number 6. This one is a little bit more personal to me and kind of what I learned along the journey of my playing career and documenting it here on the podcast. I've spoken to a few players on the show. Shea Adekoya is one that comes to mind specifically, where we talked about mental health. Seth Taylor, who isn't a current player but works with the Sounders and works with a lot of pro clubs and pro players to work on the mental side of their game, their mental fortitude, their mental strength, their mindfulness. And I've spoken to other players who have battled with their mental health, and the number one thing I would say is just that, like, your mental health does matter. And I know that we in the game and in athletics, it's still sometimes a mode of, you don't show weakness and don't show people that you feel emotion and that you get upset and that you're struggling, because you don't want to give the opponent ammunition right against you, or you don't want to show the fans that you're ungrateful for being in this position of playing professional football. But the thing that I've learned, man, is you're a human first, you're a person first before you're a footballer. In fact, those are two separate things, because that was something I struggled with, where I couldn't separate myself from the footballer for a long time. And when I played well, that meant I was a good person. When I didn't, it was a rocky road to fall down. And so I had to separate those two things. I had to understand that I was a person who had all these qualities, but also could go and play football and enjoyed football and could play football at a high level. So in tandem with that, what I learned was that for me, I needed to do a better job of really just stopping to breathe, to be in the moment. It was something that I mentioned on a lot of episodes. I spoke about this with Caesar. I spoke about this with Christian Sakini. I spoke about this with players, man, where I in my career, I kept thinking about what was going to be next. All right, I'm going to play for this team. I'm going to do well. Then I'm going to parlay that into a next team in a higher level. I'm going to get to that level. Then I'm going to do well. I'm going to go here. And then I'm going to move there. And I had my career planned out almost down to the T and what I thought was going to happen. And sure, I knew there would be twists and turns along the way, but I just kept thinking one step ahead. And I think there was a moment where I kind of realized, like, I'm going to just plan away my career. I'm going to wish away my career, and I'm going to look back one day and look and say, I didn't really live it. I didn't really experience it. I wasn't present because all I thought about was the next thing that was going to happen. And there's an element of that is good for athletes to have, because you want to forget about your previous game and look ahead to your next performance and performing well. But I think the best ones are ever present in the specific moment. The sentiment is you're only as good as what you can do right now, right? You're only as good as what you can do next. So if you play a great game and then you train poorly all week, and there's a good chance you might not be in the team for the next game, because what you do matters in the moment. And so what I would encourage to players is, especially, if you're in a situation where you're maybe in one of your first teams and you are looking ahead to that next contract or that next opportunity for yourself, just to stop and take a minute and soak it all in and breathe it in. And I think, probably as I look back, there were moments where I was in Germany or I was in Denmark where I didn't do that. I didn't really stop to just take a look around and understand that what I had right there, I would have never been able to dream for myself 5 years earlier, right? Like if you had told me when I was a 8th grader or a high schooler that one day you're going to play soccer and you're going to play soccer in Germany, I would have been like, what? I would have thought it was the coolest thing in the whole world. And it's the blessing and it's the curse. It's the sickness of footballers, is that we get somewhere and then we want more. We get into a team and we want to score goals. We score more goals. We want to get to the higher level team. We want to score goals there. We want to get to a bigger contract. We always want the next thing. It's what makes professional athletes so good in a way, because they're always hungry, right? But I think you can get lost in this trap of always chasing the rabbit, and all of a sudden you can look back at a football career and realize that it's over, and you barely stop to smell the roses and experience what you were in. This beautiful thing, this dream that we all have. So stop and breathe, be in the moment, enjoy what you do, love your football, and take care of your mental health. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. If you're somebody who's listened to this and you've experienced something like that, hit me up. I know what it's like. I know it can get scary. I know it can get crazy. I'm not a professional, but I'm happy to lend an ear to anybody who's going through something like that. And, don't be afraid to, if you have the means to, or you want to seek professional help on it, because I think the stigma around that needs to stop and needs to change. And in the same way that you would go and you would hire a trainer to work with you in the gym or to work with you on the field, somebody to work with you on your mind and helping you heal or helping you strengthen is perfectly okay and should be celebrated and should be, to be honest, in my opinion, it should be much more readily accessible and even encouraged for players to do. And you're starting to see it more where clubs and teams are hiring sports psychologists and encouraging, if not requiring, their players to interact with that staff. So do the best to take care of yourself. What's that? We're on to, that was 6. Number 7 is number 7. I mean, I think this one probably goes without saying, but man, I look at the players that I've talked to. Johnny Campbell's one who comes to mind. Went overseas to Southeast Asia as an American from East Tennessee State University and didn't know much about the culture, definitely didn't know the language, and has fostered a career for himself out there. JC Mack has taken so many risks like that. Christian Sacchini, Lucas Sarno, Austin Hill, guys I've played with, Tony Lopez, Eric Espinoza, they're all guys who they've just taken a risk. They've taken a leap of faith. They've been brave. And they have thrown caution to the wind, packed up their bags, moved to another country, and they've made something happen. And if they failed, then they dusted themselves off and they went again. They moved to a different place and they tried their luck there. Fortune favors the brave is something that I heard recently, and I think it holds so true in the game of football. Fortune favors, you're going to find luck if you take that risk. If there's an opportunity that you're kind of on the fence about and you're not sure, and there's pros, there's cons, if it's going to put you a little bit outside your comfort zone, it's going to push you to that next level that you need to go in order to make something happen for yourself. Safety, comfortability, they're sometimes the antithesis of a professional footballer career. You have to take a risk. You have to be brave. You have to be willing to sometimes jump off the cliff and not quite know where you're going to land. So, I think the players who have had success, the players who I've spoken to have done really well. They've had a couple things in common. They've been extraordinarily brave. They haven't been afraid to take a risk and to jump into something that was kind of unknown and do their best to make it into a situation that they could thrive in. So they've been brave. They've worked tremendously hard. I don't want that to be lost in all this, is that every single player has worked and worked and worked tirelessly to get to where they are, whether it be on the field or whether it be making contacts or connections to be able to get an opportunity. They also have been, everyone that I've spoken to has been tremendously kind to me when I've interviewed them and spoken to them. And they've been welcoming. And I've never really felt like I had a conversation where somebody was disrespectful or rude or even, off camera. I've always had really great experiences. And I've even had, surprisingly experiences where people genuinely wanted to talk more. And we've since, remained in contact and even become friends after doing the podcast. So I think what I would say is fortune favors the brave. If you work hard and you are kind, good things are going to happen. And what I mean by that is, if you pair those 3 things together, there's going to be people that are willing to stick their neck out for you and make an opportunity happen. If you're the type of guy who goes into a team and you're nice to everybody, you try and make chit chat with all the players, all the staff, you're respectful of anyone that's in and around the facility, you're respectful to the fans, people notice those types of things and they want to help you. They really do. As much as football can be a cutthroat game, there are really good people in the game out there, I promise you. I would encourage you to go back and listen to some of the episodes because those are really good people in the game who are willing to stick their neck out for you if you're a good player and if you are a good person as well. Because if you're a player who goes in to a changing room and and you are cancer and you're not good for the morale, you're not good for the environment, you're picking fights, you're not kind to people, those things are going to be noticed and you're probably going to be on your way out pretty quick, because it's kind of the ratio between your talent and how kind you are. If that talent isn't through the roof and you're an asshole, then you're going to have a very short leash. Josh Morris, who is the Cardiff City first team analyst, told the story of, I believe his name was Josh Sang, and was an under 23s player coming up, trying to get a sniff with the first team, and one time on an away trip got teas and coffees for everybody on the bus. And it was something that, is small, has really nothing to do with football, but it's remembered. And when choosing between two players who are probably of equal ability, and maybe one's a bit of a dick, and one is that guy who, went and got coffees for everybody because he's just a good guy, you probably know who they're going to go with. And then, all of a sudden, because of your kindness, because you're a nice person to have in the locker room, you're a nice person to have around the team, now you get an opportunity to go improve yourself, and then you play well, boom, you're off to the races, right? And now you can take your career into your own hands. So, be brave, work hard, be kind, good things will happen. Trust me. As fortune favors those types of people. So that was number 7. And the last one, as we've done 75 episodes, I wanted to throw this last one in there as our 7.5, because I think it's a simple one, but I believe that it's important. The thing that I have learned, and I think Aramis said it best to me, and I don't remember if it was on the air or if it was off the air, because it's funny, there's certain episodes where you'll hear me talk about them a lot, just reminiscing back, and you hear me say certain names a lot because they just stick with you. Like Aramis is one that sticks with me. His story, talking to him after, we probably chatted for like 2 or 3 hours that day, and I was engaged for every minute of it. And Seth Allen Taylor is another one that I think about constantly, and I'm sure that these guys don't even know what kind of impact they've had on me or what effect they've had on my life. But like I said, this podcast has changed my life, and some of these people and hearing their stories have really changed my life. And those are 2 guys where, I credit them to it, because I think about some of the things that they say still to this day. Because I just remember he said to me, I can't remember we were talking about, I think he had asked me what I was trying to do. And it was at a point where I had no idea. I had no idea which way was up. I think I had just maybe come home from Denmark. Or maybe it was right before, and I felt so lost. And he said, and this is a guy who had cancer and has come back and is now he's playing for Tisted in the Danish 2nd division, making his way back after freaking chemo and radiation, and he's giving me advice. He's advising me, and I've been through nowhere near the level of difficulty or adversity that he's been through. And he was just telling me, that in whatever you do, you just have to find joy in it. And you have to, that's the number one thing that's important is can you find joy in what you do, and can you be happy with what you're doing? And if for you that's playing professionally, then fantastic. If it's not, that's okay. If it's coaching, fantastic. If it's being away from the game, that's okay. But can you find joy in it? And I've really tried to take that with me into more of what I do. Can I find joy in more little moments, in more tying back to, can I stop and breathe and be in the moment? Can I find joy in those things? Can I trust that even though I might be working very hard to make a career in football as a player, or make a career with this podcast, or all these things, can I trust that where I am right now is where I'm meant to be? And be patient and enjoy the ride, right? Can you find moments when you're in that tiny little apartment in Germany or Romania or Bulgaria where this isn't where you want to be a couple years down the road, but maybe you have a great training session and you look outside and understand where you are in Europe, and you're experiencing a brand new culture, and you're getting to play football, you're getting to do what you love, and even if you're making $50 a game, hey, that's $50 more than you made 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? When you're playing for free or you're paying to go to college, right? Like finding those little moments where you can just experience the joy, right? You can be grateful, you can have gratitude for where you are. Man, it goes a long way. And I hope that those of you who are listening, especially if you are footballers, some of these things can help you. And as you go along, can you just find the joy? Even if you've been struggling to find a team for a year, for 2 years, you've been out of a team, you haven't been able to get back to playing football at the level that you want to. Where can you find some joy? Is it in your family? Is it with your friends? Do you now get more time to spend with them? Do you get more time to spend at home that maybe you won't have when you get back into that team? Because it's coming, right? That day will come when you get back into the game. But again, it's like if you wish away the time that you're in, the moment that you're in, things are going to pass you by. Opportunities for you to experience happiness, to experience things that you love are going to pass you by. I hope that provided some value to you, that you learned something, that you can take away one of those things. If you think that some of the things that I've said, maybe there's a different one that you want to add as one of the 7 things that you've learned in 75 episodes. Actually, you know what? Let's do that. If you listen to the podcasts and you've learned something or you've gained some value from it, whether it be in an email or whether it be a comment on social media or a DM on social media, message me with one of the things, right? If you've got more than that, if you've got all 7, knock yourself out. But if you've got one of the things that you've learned from an episode, send that over to me. I would love to hear what you guys think, what you guys have learned. So that is 7.5 things for 75 episodes. I want to thank so much those who have come on this show and have taught me so much of what I've brought to you here today. It is without them, this episode doesn't exist. Without them, this show doesn't exist. So I'm eternally grateful to those who have taken time to help me grow this platform and to help me grow this show. So thank you to all of you out there who are listening as well, because you are just as much a part of that. The audience who listens to and consumes this show is hugely important to me and hugely valuable to me. So thank you. And please be on the lookout for more content, more interviews coming up, more players, all the good stuff that you have grown accustomed to, as that will be continuing as we kick on into the summer. I know I'm a day or two late with this one. I'm sorry. I was on vacation, was enjoying the beach, was enjoying family. So we're a little bit late, but we'll try and get back on schedule and get back to everything according to plan. The last thing I'll say before I sign off is a couple of you had reached out, and I've had people reach out and say that they want to know how they can support the podcast. And I'm really grateful to get those messages and support from you, and any bit of support really helps. I understand how valuable all of your guys' money is. I understand how valuable all of your guys' time is, and taking, an hour or 2 out of your week every week to listen to this, I know is not a small thing. So for me to ask for more, I understand how that can be a lot. All I will say is that it is, an endeavor that does cost some money on my part to produce this show with some of the different programs that we use and things that we do to push out good content. It also takes a decent amount of time for me to do that as well. And that's not me asking for your pity or for you to feel bad for me or anything like that whatsoever. I am not complaining. I love getting to do this. I love getting to share this with you. But if you would like to support, it would mean a great deal to me. It would help this show tremendously continue to push out good content and maybe even, down the road, do even more things for you, produce more exclusive content, do things like merchandise or, just a lot of ideas that I have that just can't quite, come to fruition without the resources yet. So if all this is turning you off, by all means, leave it, skip through this, and, I'll catch you on the next episode. If you would love to support, I do have a Patreon page where it's just $5 a month. So that's $60 for your whole year. And it just is a little bit to just kind of help cover some of the costs of this show. And it's, and like I said, we might down the road do some other cool things with those of you who are patrons. But for right now, it's just kind of to help out the show. So for those of you who have messaged about that, that would be where I would direct you. I will put some links down to that below. And once again, by no means feel like it's a requirement, but it would be awesome if you can afford it, if you can swing it and you want to help out, then that would be awesome. So that covers it for today. 75 episodes, boom, in the books. 7.5 things that I've learned. Message me with what you thought was the thing that you've learned from the 75 episodes. And then I will catch you on episode 76.